Most of the SARMs aren't worth injecting. S23 not worth injecting. Austrian not worth injecting. What is up, everyone? It's Russo. I hope everyone is doing well. Today's ASMR sip is 19SRM.com. This might be one of the last ASMR sips, guys. 1907 no longer really distributing in the United States, so I'm probably going to drop them. An Intelligent Iron. Here is your spritz noises. Alright, today I'm going to be talking about the only SARMs worth injecting. So I have multiple vlogs of injectable SARMs on this channel. I do not recommend injectable SARMs because there's virtually no data to go on as far as what's the difference between oral administration of a SARM through the first pass in the liver. Does that convert the SARM into something? We don't know. Or does injecting, bypassing that first pass through the liver, make the SARM exhibit different characteristics? We don't know. So I would definitely err on the side of caution with this information, but I am leaning towards doing injectable LGD 4033 for my comeback because it is the greatest look I've ever achieved. I'll have Andrew throw it up for the 80,000th fucking time. I want to beat this look. This look was at 250 pounds. I was strong as I ever was. I looked as freaky lean as I ever was. And if the C word didn't happen and the lockdowns didn't happen, I would have cut that up and had super dense tissue around 220 pounds. Injectable LGD completely changed my mind on the power of SARMs and overall I don't know, injectable LGD, everyone who fucks around with it, they have a lot to say about it compared to the oral LGD. I'm not saying oral LGD doesn't work. It's just like when you pin 50 plus milligrams a day, you're honestly like, all right, like the androgen pathway is fully saturated. It's that bonkers, and I just wanted to drive that home that not every SARM behaves that way. So in my opinion, S23, the oral bioavailability versus the injectable bioavailability, S23 is completely useless to inject. Stop injecting it. There's virtually no difference. From my experience with RAD, I found it to be stronger. I do not know how my lipids or any of my blood work look like on that. Probably wrecked my lipids, honestly, because I was testing all these injectable SARMs back to back to back. But I can say without a fact, it is worth looking into injectable administration when it comes to YK11 and LGD 4033. Austrian, I actually recommend never injecting that ever. It's so liver toxic that if you inject it, I had liver pain within 2 days. Do not use injectable Austrian. There's no look difference. There's a bell curve on the results to where it's like it's not worth going up higher in dosage. Injectable LGD at 50 to 100 milligrams a day pinned every day with 10 to 30, 40 milligrams of YK11 every day. You're gonna be struggling to keep up with that cycle. You're going to be pounding down calories, mind blown how you're getting leaner and tighter. It's not behaving at all like a normal LGD cycle where, I don't know, you just look sloppy on oral administration LGD. That's not the case with injectable. I definitely recommend, if you're going to mess around with injectable LGD 4033, to use HCG and HMG to keep the testicles working, because the SHBG is going to get fucked. Your sex hormone binding globulin is going to get fucked injecting that much LGD, and that is going to cause for an environment where your libido could take a hit because there's nothing being transported to the penis. I didn't have any libido issues at all with injectable LGD. I know my libido wasn't heightened. It definitely felt slightly dipped going on to that heavy of an injectable SARM cycle, but it wasn't like through the roof, but it wasn't crashed either. But I think if I added an HCG, HMG, I don't think I was doing it during that time, that would have mitigated everything, because I would have my normal sex hormones in the spots needed for the libido to function. I just can't drive it home that injectable LGD will change your complete perspective on SARMs. I highly encourage any lab rat that has elaborate experience with gear, to give injectable LGD a shot, and maybe it might change your angle on SARMs when it comes to high performance, although I don't really argue for SARMs for high performance most of the time. I normally argue on this channel about SARMs are useful in super low dosages on cruises to maintain more muscle mass and or to lower injectable testosterone administration, which would cause less prostate issues because you're replacing that overall androgen level with the SARM, which isn't going to bind to the prostate and isn't going to convert into DHT. There are very good use cases for SARMs. Extreme bodybuilding really doesn't slot in there. Obviously, some SARMs are really good for bodybuilding, but I do think normal, tried and true steroid cycles by the bodybuilders, most of them are better. Injectable LGD plus injectable YK11 stacks with any of those cycles. I'm sorry, I said it. Most of the SARMs aren't worth injecting. S23 not worth injecting. Austrian not worth injecting. S4, you'll go fucking blind. There is a benefit of injecting it. And RAD140, it's like, I don't know. I'd have to see my blood work, what it looked like on injectable RAD140, but I was so fucking flat. It was insane. I couldn't fill out at all. Injectable LGD, when you oral administrate it, you get bloaty, sloppy looking no matter how good your diet is. When you inject it, the opposite happens. It's tightness overload. It's crazy. And I do recommend everyone take into consideration that injectable LGD, in my opinion, is another dark horse in the closet that is just like waiting to be found. And that once this gets up there, when it comes to the top bulking cycles, DECA, D-ball, NPP, EQ, you know, I feel like injectable LGD, injectable YK11, testosterone base, and HCG fits right up there with the results possible because my genes aren't the greatest, and if I give that to someone whose genes are insane, which I'll have Andrew throw up Ron's injectable YK11 before and after, he was mind blown. I'll play some excerpts from him.
When I took it, I thought personally it was better than Tren. See, I take Tren and
that's a bold statement.
I get so many side effects from Tren, and the hardness and the vascularity I got from YK and the fat loss was unbelievable. It was so quick, and my strength went through the roof.
So he was mind blown. He had no financial gain of saying that. I gave that bottle to him for free and said, hey, if you're gonna roast it, you know, people love when you roast SARMs on the internet. Everyone hates SARMs right now. So if you don't like it, I will still interview you and post it up as the biggest dude in my gym's opinion. And he was like, okay, I'll go for it. Turns out he really liked it. Turns out he was mind blown by it. Turns out he was like scared of the results by it type shit. And that showcases YK11 and LGD in injectable format being one of these weird holy fuck things where it's like, is the first pass through the liver really changing these compounds that much? Why are they interacting so differently? Is it just sheer bioavailability? Is that the liver is doing something to these SARMs that is causing them to change characteristics, and by injecting it you're bypassing that? Where I think it comes down to bioavailability compared to injectable Austrian being pretty much the same look, but you know, way more liver toxicity, and RAD140 being pretty much the same look. My looks are different on oral versus injectable LGD, oral versus inject YK11. Oral YK11, I can't really feel that good. Inject YK11, my joints are so crickety, but I look stupid dry. I'll have Andrew throw up me posing. It's just been one of those crazy things where I see that injectable LGD really isn't having the light be shown on it as much as it should, as far as like extreme power with extreme side effects. I think LGD is worth looking into if you're risking it for the biscuit. I'll see you guys on my next video.